Okay, so I'm going to be showing you how to do the foil weaving assignment for our test out. So I'm going to have you get her sectioned off in her mohawk in the center here, okay, and then her sides sectioned, and then this mannequin short that I'm using, but this is good for, like I said, for long hair. The placement that we're using is good for long hair to have the nice ponytail highlights that go all the way around the hairline and the neckline for when they wear their hair up in a ponytail. So you're gonna get your whole little 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch subsection all the way around the hairline down. You can see that I did not do right above the ears because the way the hair falls back, that will come over that, okay? So this is how you're gonna start her sectioning. And again, she's got short hair, but, so there's that. Now, mixing up lightener. So, we are gonna start with equal parts. Now, generally with lightener, we've got our powder. This is the bleach, and it's good to call it lightener in front of the client. It doesn't sound so scary versus saying I'm putting bleach on your hair. So we're gonna get 1 scoop, which is equivalent to 1 ounce. So we're gonna mix developer. We're gonna use 20 volume today. So this is our developer we're gonna mix in. So I'm going to place my measuring cup eye level, and I'm looking for the 1 on here. And then I'm gonna mix 1. Now here's the thing, when I always say mix with consistency, is generally once you do equal parts, you might find it might be too thick and you might need to add some more. So we'll just see, it's very important we put our cap on immediately and tightly so our product doesn't deactivate from losing its potency from being exposed to oxygen. So we'll scoop all that into the bowl here. Stir it up and we'll see how we're looking. Once you've been doing it for a while, you'll just mix it to consistency without measuring, but for only lightener. Hair color you always have to measure, but that consistency actually looks pretty good. So you can see it's kind of, I don't know, pudding. Now it will start to thicken up as it sits out, so you might need to add some developer as you go. So we're good and stirred. Okay. Going to start at her. Now, like I've said, you can, depending on what you're doing and the client and the circumstances, you can start at the front or the back. I'm just gonna start in the back for now, back here. Make sure you guys can see. So I'm gonna take my center section, clip this up one more to get it out of the way. Dropper. Okay, looks like now you guys can see. So I have my little section down here. closer. Okay. So we're going to get our section in the very center here. And we're going to weave. Going all the way through the strand to have nice, even streaks. And you want to be consistent, like I started on a weave, so I'm going to end on a weave. All right, let's grab that hair, use the comb to separate, and let's see if it looks even before we get started. Okay. And looks like I just got a little close here. I'm going to come in, clean that up a little bit. Okay, that looks better. So I am going all the way through the hairline so you can actually see the pieces that I've skipped to make my nice streak. And when you're taking your foil section, get my head out of the way. Let the comb do the work. So I'm folding my little lip. I like my shiny side on the outside. I'm going to use her neck as my little platform there, and I'm going to lay the product. Now notice I'm not going all the way up. I'm starting a little bit further down the strand, and I'm using the product like glue to stick to my foil, and I'm really pressing that product through to really saturate that strand. And now I'm going to come up, and I want to stay about 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch away from the foil line, because when you fold, sometimes that product will mush a little bit. So we're going to do a nice clean fold, meeting my lines up here, a little sandwich. Okay, I'm not squeezing my foil, I'm just pinching the edges, and then use your comb to do the work. Okay, and now we're going to come over here to this side. Now I ended on a streak, and because I want nice consistent streaks flowing all the way around my ponytail, I'm now going to skip a streak. Come over here, and I'm doing the same consistency of placements of skipping and what I'm picking up. I'm not sure if you can actually see that, so let me turn a little bit. Can we see? So here's what I'm skipping, and here's what I'm going to be putting in the foil. Let my comb do the work. So see how I'm angling my comb to get it as tight against that hairline as possible. Get the product on my brush. Lay it on there, bring my hand under the foil, keep that hand nice and flat so you have a flat surface you're working on. Press that product into the hair to ensure that you're saturating all the way through, and if it feels like the hair's starting to slide off the foil, turn your brush vertical and pull it back on, okay? And now I'm going to creep my product a little bit closer, still staying 1/8 to 1/16 inch away from that foil line. So now I fold. Push down. So now we need to come over here. So we have our section, we ended on a streak, so we need to make sure we skip down here. And I'm kind of checking around all my foils because I want them all to flow nicely. Okay. Lay that nice and tight up against her hairline. Maybe a little below the foil line. Press that product in, holding my hand nice and flat. So we want that product to work as glue. Stick that hair to that foil. Now I need to come up and get a little bit closer. Pull my hair tighter on there by moving my brush vertically. Hold my foil up. So you notice I'm not squeezing my foils because that would make my lightener come out here at the scalp. You can see I don't have anything creeping out at the scalp, okay? And then, let's see here, we've got that in. Let's stay on point with our hairline that we're doing. So we're gonna get our little section here in our center mohawk. So this is to our side and this is to our side sections. But this correlates with our center mohawk, and you can see it's even with her eyebrows too. So we're gonna comb this section down and kind of remembering the placement that we did at the nape line back there. Get this hair nice and tight in our fingers. We're gonna go through and we're gonna start with a streak, and we're gonna just weave in and out. I think I might have to adjust myself. Let's see. So we started with a streak, we want to end on a streak. Let's see how those foils, oh, looks like they're nice and consistently spaced out. So I'll get my foil. You see how I'm like holding that hair really tight, holding that foil really tight to get it really tight to the scalp. And now she's got a little goofy hairline going on there because it's a little curve to it. So you're not gonna get it all the way flat against the scalp, but we'll come in here with our product. And you see I start about an inch away on the foil. I'm really pressing that product in. You can see like my sides are trying to come in because she had some old curl bend in her hair going on. A little more product on my brush. I'm just really working that product and turning my brush vertically to pull that hair on, keeping my flat hand under the foil to use that as like a panel, kind of like a board under there, keeping that hand nice and flat. And you see how I'm not ratting this hair up in here, I'm just lightly like laying the hair and pressing that product through the strand. And now I'm gonna work up a little bit closer up here. I'm gonna stay still about an 1/8 to a 1/16 away from my foil line. Looks nice and saturated. And then you also can even pick up this strand and look underneath. All right, everything looks good and saturated in there. Wipe my comb off. And now we're gonna fold, meeting the top, pressing my edges, letting the comb do that work. So see how nice and snug we are against the top here. Okay, now our sides. Now I ended on a streak here. I don't know if you can see that. There. I ended with a streak right there. So I need to make sure I skip using that same placement of streaks that we did in the top foil. And then I like to end with a streak at the temple because you don't want to have a dark spot at the temple. So now let's look and see how our spacing is. And it looks like I need to come in here and skip out a little. All right. That looks nice and clean. So now again, hold that hair nice and tight. Let that comb do the work. See, I'm kind of pulling the hair back, and now I'm able to lay it really nice. Wow, till I bumped the chair. Using my pinky. Lay that product, stick it to the foil. See how now that's stuck, so I'm good. Keeping that hand flat, work that product to the end. See how I'm about an inch away from the scalp right now? Press that product through the hair. Make sure you're getting both sides of the strand. And now I'm working it up through the top. Pulling that hair tight on my foil as I go. Now they have all kinds of tricks. You can actually tease the hair that you're putting in the foil first to break up that line that you'll get, but we're just doing a basic technique right now, so we will stay with this. Now we're going to get this side. So you can see, I'm going to get this underneath hair out of the way. Don't be afraid to clip it if it's in your way. All right, so we ended on a streak right here. I don't know if you can see that. We ended on a streak right here. So we have to skip a streak. And we know on the other side, we ended with a streak on the temple. So we want to make sure, or sideburn, so we want to make sure that we do the same thing over here. So picking up there. All right, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see my top piece I skipped at the very top. So everything should flow really nice. And your comb, so see how I'm pushing back. Oops, dropped it, we'll grab it. Getting that as snug as possible. Now staying an inch away, pressing that product into the hair so it sticks to the foil. Now we start off an inch away, but then we gradually work the product up higher. So we're going to press the product all the way through the end. And when the hair's longer than the foil, then you just fold it in and lay the product against the hair. So we're pressing that in. Get this out of the way under here. And now we're gradually going to work this product up higher, turning that brush vertical to pull that hair on to the foil tighter, and staying an 1/8 to a 1/16 inch away from my foil line. So now we have our framing in. So we've got our one in the center and our two on each side. And then we have our face framing around her face. Now let's go through our top area. So we need to make sure that we are skipping a full section here. And I'm gonna say, let's skip about 1/2 inch. Now I'm slightly curving still to follow how the hairline is going, but I'm gonna gradually stop doing that. So slight curve here because of her little goofy hairline. Everybody's got different hairlines, so this is good practice for us. And then I think it's even good to just clip this out of the way so you don't accidentally grab it. So I'm not clipping it to another foil. And then we're gonna come behind it and we're gonna get another section. And this needs to be about 1/4 inch. You can even clip that. Let's do this. We've got to get this hair nice and like tight out of the way. So you can either kind of twist it over to the side and clip it over here, or you could, if you're gonna lightly do it, make sure I have enough clips when I'm doing a video. Okay. So here's our 1/4 inch. We've skipped a full slice. And now we're getting our next section, and we're gonna go in, and let me turn closer. So I'm going all the way through the strand. So let's see where we're at. Oh, a little bit too thick, so I'm gonna scooch over a little. So you want to be very precise when you're getting your pieces that you're doing. Okay, so let that drop down. Now get your foil again. So I'm coming down just below my foil line. See how I'm going real tight against that hair and scalp, letting the comb do the work. Press the product in the hair. Now that I've pressed it in well, now I'm working it up to that foil line, and now my hair's sliding a little, so I come in vertically with my brush and get it on there tighter, and now come closer to my foil line, staying about 1/8 to a 1/16 inch away. And we need a little more product. Nice and saturated. Okay, got to mix up more product. Okay, so you can see that I have skipped a full section in between each of my foils. And I like to come and get this section and either separate it down the middle so the pieces are falling on each side, or if I was coloring hair around the foil, I would bring it all to one side so that'd be easier. But separate. Get that out of the way. That way there's no hair laying in between the foil, because sometimes it can get on that hair. Separate that all out. I call these the tails. So we're gonna pull the tails. And this way the tails aren't hanging in your client's face. So now to look at it, you can see what I've skipped in between each section. Can you see that? It's kind of dark, I don't know. Okay, so I went through the whole top section following that same technique, and I'm stopping here at the crown. And now we're gonna come in and do her sides. So these little tails that we've already, these are our skipped sections that we don't want to highlight. Oh, this will show you really good what it is. There, okay? Those whole sections in between the foils that we don't want to highlight, we're just gonna get those and clip them out of the way. Carefully, we wanna make sure we don't have any of our foils slipping, so it's really important to just take your time. It's gonna take a little bit longer at first. And now for our sides, if you remember in our picture, I showed the foil going in at an angle. And what this does, ooh, let me turn this way so you can see. By taking your foil in at an angle, like this, okay, it's gonna make it fall around her face. And same thing when it goes up in a ponytail, it's gonna fall nicely too. So we've got to take into consideration what we've got going on here and here. So we want to make sure we skip a piece around those foils. So here, we'll just get this section out. Clip that aside. Now I'm gonna come in here and get this section here, and see how I'm right up against this foil, so I'm going to skip that first one and then come in behind it and start doing my weave, tapping all the way through that strand. So you can see the weaving and how I'm skipping a section here next to this foil here. So we can go ahead . You can see how nice those streaks are laying. Now be careful when you're pressing that you don't make your other foils slide. So you see how once I get that hair stuck to the foil with my product, I bring my flat hand behind and I'm using it as a tool to really work that product and press it through the strand. and making sure that that's on there really tight. Now I can come and start getting closer to my foil line. Staying 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And now I'm going to skip a section, still following my little angle. So we'll skip our section, and then I'll come here and I'll get my next section. Clip that up out of the way. Here's my next section. And you can see I'm right up against this hairline foil. So I am going to skip that, let that drop out, and now I can come in here and do my weaving. Nice little separation in our weave, and then we can even come here and just lightly clip that hair so it stays out of our way. We got to keep those pieces out of the way. We don't want to get the lightener on hair that we don't want lightened. We want a nice, clean, even, highlighted, somewhat streaky look, not a spotty look from getting our lightener on areas outside of the foil where it's not supposed to be. And if you do accidentally get anything where you don't want it, get your little towel and wipe it away. Now let's see if we've got enough room to come up one more. Deborah's head's a little bit smaller than Amanda's, so we could come in. We could squeeze one more in there. I'm gonna skip it. I think you get the gist. And now we're gonna do the other side the same way. So we'll come over here. We're gonna get these tails from the top section, and we're gonna clip them out of the way because this is our piece that we have skipped in between these foils up top, and we do not wanna accidentally highlight those. So get those out of the way. This is stuff we don't want highlighted. And here I go, angling towards her face, and then we want to check with the other side and make sure our foils are hitting at the same point on both sides. Looks like I might need to come up just a little bit higher. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our bricklay placement, and I suggest starting at the bottom. So get a straight horizontal section. And we're skipping a whole panel in between from the previous section, and we're skipping a piece on each side of the foil so we're not butting up against this outside foil here. Make sure you weave all the way through the strand. See our nice streaks. Keep your hand flat under the foil. If you have your hand curved, it's going to make your foil crinkle when you lay the product in it. So see how that was getting real messy? Flat hand, work that product through the strand, and then gradually start to come up to that foil line. Okay, let's get our next section down. So you can actually skip the section you want to skip, clip it out of the way, and then get your next section down so you know that you're skipping what you're supposed to. So since we're bricklaying, I've got my one foil here. Now I'm going to come to the side and do 2 side-by-side foils to lay like bricks. So I'm not going to just keep going straight up the center of my head. We're going to do each segment at a time. So here's my section I'm going to skip. You can see I have it horizontal all the way across. Here's what you could do to make sure you don't accidentally pick it up. And then get down the section that you want. Using straight partings is very important to keep you on track. The nice thing about having a very rhythmical way of placing your foils is that next time when the person comes in and they're like, oh, I love it, I want the exact same thing, now you can pick up the same pieces and just do the regrowth instead of just making new highlights, and every time they get new highlights and eventually they're all over highlighted and they look nothing like how it started. So we're going to come over here to the side and get our weave. Keeping in mind not to bump up against this outside foil. So we're going to skip this center section and we're going to come over here and get our next section to foil. Skipping the outside so we don't butt up against this outside section. And we're just going to keep alternating up the head. So now I'll take another section down and get my center foil, and then another section on my 2 sides. Okay, so now we've done our bricklay all the way up the back of the head. So I've got my one in the center, if you can see that. And then I've got my two side by side. Let's see if I can move these. My whole section that I skipped. And then I just kept alternating. One in the center, two side by side. And then now we've got this section left. Okay, and we need to put a foil right in the middle of that, right there. So we're gonna come in here, we're gonna see how we can make that fit best. So you just kind of have to see with how your placement it falls and how everything's laying, how it looks like it's gonna work out best. If you need two side-by-side foils or if you need just one in the center. So looking at your placement of where all your other foils are, just kind of figure out what looks best. I think we're gonna come in and we're gonna do two side-by-sides because we want this crown to look real nice up here. So get my section that I'm skipping clipped out of the way. And this is too wide to put in one foil, right? But I'm not gonna have a space in the center now like I did down here. The way this is falling down, it works, but because this is up here on the top of the head, we want all these streaks to line up really nice. So first, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pick out where I want my streaks. So go in, do my weaving, alternating where I'm picking up my pieces that are gonna be lightened. Okay, so now we can see this is way too wide to put in one foil. So let's clip those pieces out of the way that we just dropped down. And we're just gonna split it in half. So I'll put one foil here, whoop, one foil here, and one foil here. Okay, so we just got this in a foil. My phone didn't have enough memory, so now I'm gonna come over here and get this other piece that we picked out. So we had these, the side-by-sides that we just split into two foils side by side because they were too wide to put in one foil, but it's still a continuous streaking pattern all the way across, continuous weaving pattern, I should say. I know, I'm just making this video so I have more time in my class.
What are you doing?
Making a video